Yeah, baby.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, baby.
This is the Sport Fishing Championship.
And this is live from Club Nautico Santo Domingo White Marlin Tournament, the second stop of 11, the Sport Fishing Championship. We're at Cabeza de Toro and Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, for a great day, the second of 3 days of fishing. Looking for that mighty billfish. I'm Robbie Floyd with multi-time champion Peter Miller. Peter, you've been here many times making that run out. You know you're not very far away from catching a white marlin.
Yeah, we're very, very close to land here. We're kind of rubbing the shoreline there, kind of just getting out there amongst these underwater structures, these rocks. And I tell you what, this fishing is productive. Anytime you go to the DR, you can count on billfish.
31 teams left both yesterday as well as today. Three-man teams also. We're going to be talking about some of the specifics of the anglers and what they're dealing with that are different this week than they were last week. One thing you notice, now that's a good-sized boat, but not all of these boats are the big boys we saw in the Gulf just 1 week ago.
That's true. You don't need a large boat to fish these waters to catch marlin. You know, a lot of these center console boats and smaller sport fish boats, they get it done.
They have a beautiful facility to take off from. Sisu, our leader right now, is 6 white marlin. You see the overall points on the right-hand side. Doña Lucy, we saw Doña Lucy up the top pretty much the entire day yesterday, and Grace up on the board. That's because they got a blue marlin. That's max points for that blue. If you catch more blues, you can catch 2 blues, and that's like 5, 6 whites, and that's what they've done today. They've really jumped up.
That's right. And then you got Y360. I mean, with a blue marlin and a white marlin at 575. So you're talking 2 fish compared to the leader that has 6 whites, and they're only what, just almost 200 points away from each other. That's what you want. You want to get those blues. 1 zillion points away from each other.
The blue marlin worth 350 points. The white marlin are 125 points apiece. But again, there's your top 5 as we see them right now. And this playing field, it is a tremendous fishery. Let's just put it that way. If you want to go somewhere that you don't have to make a 100, 200-mile run, you could sit there and put in at Punta Cana, and you are literally a handful of minutes away from catching.
And I would say you're guaranteed you're going to catch a sail, a white, or a blue on any trip to the DR.
And again, we're on that southeastern tip of the Dominican Republic. I'm kind of a little more southerly. When they take off, it's going to be a little bit rougher than the confluence of the ocean waters there. Cabeza de Toro and smoother waters around that outside. But looking at one of our 31 teams, Team Sisu, you see their track coming out of Camp Cana. They stayed in one general area.
They are mowing the lawn, Robbie. That's the terminology you use for something like this. When you get to a productive area, you're going to stay there, you're going to work it hard, and you're going to work in, out, sideways, down sea, cross sea. You're going to do it all to get those fish.
You know, a lot of times you may think, or the common man might think, that they're making runs. It looks like a NASCAR track where they're just making circles. It's far from it. You have to move in and out, and Team Sisu did that yesterday. One thing about these waters, and we saw calm conditions in the Gulf, there's always seems to be a roll in the Dominican Republic.
Every time I've been to the DR, it's always had a little slop to it. It's bouncing off the cliffs, and it's coming back out, and it has like this current mixed with a smashing against the wall, bounces back out, and it's always a little sloppy, Poppy.
600 or 6 billfish for Team Sisu, 750 points. Now we will crown a champion at the end of this event. Whoever has the most points overall will get 3,500 for their team and maybe fish either the Atlantic or the Gulf Division. Look at the head shake. I'm watching it just how fast they're reeling in these white marlin. The blue took much longer. They're a much bigger fish, but they got to do it in a hurry because there is a time limit here in the DR.
That's right. There's a 30-minute time limit, but the nice thing about this light tackle, when you have light tackle, 20-pound test, your drag's only set at about 5, 6, 7 pounds. So the fish is going to stay on the surface, and you can close the gap quickly with the boat as you back down to it or turn and go towards it forwards, and you can close that gap quickly and be on that fish in 5 minutes possibly. And there you see the squid chain with the dead bait hanging off it. They reel it in, get it out of the way so this guy can fight his fish.
That'd be considered a teaser. Several varieties of teaser. Now, wrapping the hand around the leader and tough times. These are still powerful fish. And you're also releasing that fish. You're cutting the line. You're not having to de-hook the fish as well. Go from Sisu to Doña Lucy, who was one of our front runners yesterday, currently sits in second. You see their path. That is absolutely almost on top of each other. And remember, there's still almost 30 other boats out there in the same general area.
That's right. And the interesting thing about Doña Lucy is they have 2 sails, so you can see their track marks are inshore of Sisu. So you know that at that point, you can say, hey, the sailfish are in a little tighter. So if you want to rack and stack some points and catch some sails, you can do that too. But they have a nice combo, 4 whites and 2 sails, as compared to Sisu with 6 whites in a little deeper water.
Yet to catch a fish this morning, the Doña Lucy. Sisu has 1, but again, the team on the move has been great. So let's look at Doña Lucy yesterday. Again, fairly calm seas. You get a big boy on the line, white marlin. You got to get them in quick within 30 minutes. Also, something, Peter, is there's 3 anglers on board, and they don't necessarily work well together. Or maybe they do, because they hope that they catch 3 fish at a time.
You're right. It looks to me like they have a double on. I mean, I could be mistaken, but it looks like we got pressure on 2 rods there. And 1 looked like a sailfish for sure. Backing up, they got tight on both fish, now they're backing up.
And you're exactly right. Yesterday they did have 2 come in at almost the same time, and this is video evidence.
So what you're saying is evidently they have 2 billfish on. They're working the ballet in the cockpit there, crossing over, under. It's a perfect deal.
I know it's not Dancing with the Stars, but there's a lot of dancing going on there.
Listen, if you're dancing on a boat, you're doing something right, and I like that. Dancing with the billfish.
Yeah, this was Doña Lucy yesterday. 4 in our billfish category, or actually 6 total billfish, 4 white marlin, 2 sailfish. The sailfish only give you 75 points, but these are trying to get the max points for the most part and get these bigger white marlin. You get even more points for the blue. And again, beautiful day, beautiful conditions. You always have a little bit of roll, and when you get 2 fish on at the same time, even bigger.
Yeah, it looks to me like they had a double, sailfish and white marlin, a simultaneous little double duo.
And the sailfish has that longer fin, a dorsal fin on the back, but so that's pretty cool, and that kind of shows you. We see their tracker, we know where they're going, and everybody's in that same general area. I'd like to welcome everyone inside our SFC studios. Peter Miller, I'm Robbie Floyd, and the sailfish and the white marlin, they run together. They run around the same crowds. We saw it in a perfect example right there, where they had 2 on of different species at the same time.
You're right. They're brothers from another mother, and they're having a really good time together. Look, they hang out. They want to eat bait. That's our goal. They want to chase bait. So if you get to an area where you're getting bites, you can predict that you're going to get billfish species, blue, sail, white. But in this area, we got whites and we got sails stuck together.
Well, let's look at our species we're going to be dealing with this weekend. A little bit different for preponderance. You're seeing more white marlin than blue marlin, but if you can get in a mess of blue marlin, they're resident blue marlin, they're here, you get 350 points. The whites, we're seeing immense numbers out of those, and yes, there are a few sailfish, and even today, or we saw them online, you can catch them both in that same area. But if you want to catch blues, there's a few out there, but do you put all your eggs in that blue basket, or do you try and catch the numbers in the whites?
Well, Robbie, I would put my eggs in a blue basket because I want to go for the kill, go for the win. I would be fishing an area which I'm accustomed to fishing near these pads, and you troll through those. They have tons of bait, and you get great shots at blue marlin. What you want to do is, well, first of all, here we have the blue marlin. It's worth 350 points, up to 14 feet. The world record's 1,400 pounds. And then we have the white marlin coming up, Robbie.
But they're bigger. Now you've only got 30 minutes to bring them in. I've seen hours and hours for a blue marlin. You want to take that chance? The white marlin, much smaller. Look at that, 181 for the world record.
Well, sometimes you got to gamble. You got to go for the big boys. And the only thing is, you're changing the profile of your bait by putting a chugger head on. Sailfish, that's my favorite, 3-time world sailfish champion. I'm not bragging, but this is what we've done in our career. We've done a lot of sail fishing. We're at 75 points. That big dorsal pops up like a sail and corrals the bait.
I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you I won 3 World Sailfish Championships.
I'm not bragging.
I saw a sailfish once. Doña Lucy, the Sisu. Now let's look at Grace. Grace doing a different. You want to talk about zigzagging. And again, I don't know. This is their line.
I'm getting dizzy, Robbie.
They didn't catch anything yesterday, no scoreable fish, but today they have jumped up. Grace doing something right and coming out of Cabeza de Toro. Again, Grace, and explain this. Again, there's several varieties of teasers, but what are we looking at here?
All right, we got the dredge going out on a heavy-duty electric reel. That looks like a crystal reel, and you have it plugged in with probably a 50-amp breaker. You need some serious power to bring these in. These are basically rubber squids, and it basically annoys the marlin enough that they're going to come up and they're going to inspect this. And a lot of times, nowadays, you're not even using dead rig baits on these. You're just using plastic baits, keeps it really simple. It allows the mate to actually get some sleep at night.
Yeah, bait imitators. I mean, they're trying to simulate what a live bait would look like.
That's a whale right there, Robbie. I just saw a whale with a blowhole right there. Things are going crazy. That's a great sign. If you could see whales, you could see things like that, you've got bait.
Why? Well, I mean, why? Well, aren't they going for plankton? I mean, we're not talking about the same kind of bait.
Not every whale. A lot of whales are chowing on bait fish, and they come through, and the tunas follow them, and then the marlin follow those, and it's a party out there.
Well, we just stepped up the food chain. Went all the way from small bait fish or fake bait fish to real bait fish to marlin on the line there at a distance, and then whales even further. And now, as far as distance that they're dealing with here, that fairly far out, light line, no concerns there because you're still going to back that boat up to the fish.
Exactly. He's closing the gap right now, Robbie. You're exactly right. He's pumping, and when you come back at these fish, you always want to pump up and wind down. Even though you're just taking up slack, you want to pump and wind down, pump, wind down.
And you see the mate there as well. That's identifying that's that team with the fish on at that given time. Let's go on board with Grace yesterday.
Ahí mismo, está ahí mismo. Ahí mismo. Hay que coger el peje. ¿La cogiste, Diego? ¿La cogiste? La tiene, Diego, la tiene. Ahí está, ahí está, ya. Ya. Ya la tiene, muñeco. Ya la cogió. La voy a coger. Echa para atrás yo, echa para atrás. Echa para atrás yo.
Bueno, espérate, que larga la vaina esta.
Anda, no, recógele. Pon un balón, compadre, ahí. Ok.
We did good with what we had. We didn't get many bites. I saw one fish that didn't bite on the left teaser. But yeah, the one that did, we caught it in no time. And yeah, it's just, fishing's like that. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. And you always gotta be there and be ready to take action and hook that fish. But yeah, tomorrow and Saturday's another day, and hopefully we can do better.
Young man just took the words out of my mouth. I said that no scoreable fish yesterday because I was looking at theirs today where they already have two, but they did catch that one white marlin. But to fish another day, and they come out hot. They are our biggest movers today with Team Grace.
It's anybody's game when you fish in the DR. You can just literally park on the fish and just catch them one after another like you're fishing out of a barrel.
We saw a team yesterday with a wahoo, which was one of our championship fish as well, a 70-plus pounder, and they thought they had a marlin on the line. Instead, they had a big boy wahoo, and we'll talk about the championship fish as well, but look at the lines, look at the patterns that they've been running from both Cabeza de Toro and Cap Cana. They're staying in that same area, all within a 10-mile radius, and we're going to be bringing you as much live as we possibly can from the Dominican Republic, Club Nautico, Santo Domingo White Marlin Tournament, stop number 2 of the Sport Fishing Championship. Peter, the objective is catch all of these fish, come out with the most points, and maybe win that $1 million prize at the end of the season.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove, or reel them in, plot your paradise with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
It all comes back to the water. This binding agent. This fluid history of connection. Past, present, and future, all tied together through this never-ending, unwavering force. We belong to a community of seekers, anglers, and everyone in between. For us, it's more than fishing, much more. It's who we are, who we were, and who we aspire to be. We are Smith.
SFC coverage of the CNSD White Marlin Tournament is brought to you by Salt Life, Seaholm Watches, and by Smith Optics.
Look like somebody need to drop that Garmin Verb or GoPro down in the water, see those sailfish. But Radisson Blue plays host to this stop in the Dominican Republic. Our crew, our cast that are all down there, our anglers having a good time. We're in this studio in air-conditioned comfort. They're out there in the majesty that is Radisson Blue. I can't believe it. They need to send us to one of these rounds, Peter.
You know, how nice would it be, Robbie, after a long day of fishing, come back and take a dip in the pool, have a little snack, have a little cocktail, you know, talk about your fishing.
It is all about having a good time, more like family than a competition at this event at least. They are very cordial with each other, but our tournament schedule for 2022 is the first year. We've already started just 1 week ago in Venice, Louisiana. We're going to be hopping around the Gulf and the Atlantic, two different divisions. But we're kicking off with the Gulf for the first stop. Now, the Dominican Republic is different. You can either put your points toward the Atlantic division or the Gulf division, but the DR, known for their fishing, I want to start here and then make that decision which side I go.
You're right. It's kind of like a little wild card. You can kind of do either or. That's really nice, and you know you're going to catch fish in the DR. So if it's up to me, I'd be fishing that tournament.
Absolutely. Orange Beach, Alabama, very big tournament, the Gulf Coast Masters. There's going to be high numbers heading out from the Gulf shores. And as well as Biloxi, Mississippi, another big event, been doing it for quite a while. These are two of our Gulf standards, and then we move our way towards the east. Again, the last stop on the Panhandle in Miramar, and then we'll work our way up the Atlantic coast. And waters that you've been familiar with. You grew up in New York, right?
I grew up in New York. I fished Cape May, New Jersey, seen some big fish up there. It's a vibrant fishery. And then, of course, you've got Martha's Vineyard as well. Who doesn't want to go to Martha's Vineyard? Come on.
Catch some white marlin up there, maybe some yellowfin tuna. They're prevalent about that time of the year. Might not see any blues, but again, our championship fish as well as our billfish. And then Montauk, New York.
I mean, come on, that's a fishy place. I want to go there right now and go catch some bluefin tuna just for fun.
And we'll crown a champion in the Atlantic division, both the Atlantic and the Gulf, which will be crowned at South Padre Island. Each one of those divisions will have a $100,000 winner. Qualify you to Puerto Rico, where you have a chance to win $1 million, our final payout. The championship, my birthday week, the 16th through 21st. And again, we'll be bringing everything live on sportfishingchampionship.com, the 3 days of the tournament and that final Saturday. But again, 11 events, two different divisions. You have to fish at least 3 of them. And at each and every stop, our top 20 teams will get points. We give those points for those teams, and then we add our catch points, and that gives you a total for the weekend. And they accumulate those catch points week after week after week, not just the 3 best, and that will crown our champion and the $1 million prize. Who's going to be the sport fishing champion of champions? Let's take a look. We have some live updates. Oh, I love that sounder. Every time I hear that, I know somebody has caught something, and it's a breath of fresh air.
It sure is, because they got a white marlin release at 10:14.
Liqueo, we saw them moving up and down the leaderboard. Corrales, new camera boat, I believe. We have them on. We have a cameraman on that boat this morning. Maybe get some footage for you today and or tomorrow. Sisu, one of our front runners, the white marlin. But again, several white marlin being caught. We've seen a total of 2 blue marlin. Grace currently sits in 5th, kind of jumped up the board today in 600 points. They're only 150 points out. They catch even one white marlin. Now they're only a handful. They're only 25 points back. Moonstruck, another one of our big-time boats, and I say that because Wally Heinsohn, who I met at the Miami Boat Show when we announced this, Wally's on board, or actually, no, it was Horatio, I think, that's on Moonstruck. He's on board, been a long-time fisherman in this area, and you see their path as well. Looks like they're covering more ground with the green arrows.
That is called cross-mogination, okay? So they're on top of each, yep, it's an actual term. Bring it, Bob, framework. This is a situation where everyone's fishing the same area. They're pulling their pre-rig baits out. These guys are going for blue marlin. If they have a chuggerhead on there, they're trying to cause a little, what do you call it, smoke trail behind it. A blue marlin is more apt to eat that than a white marlin.
First off, you got to say, what's a chuggerhead? I mean, where does that come about? Are you talking about something that makes a difference? How?
I would say it has a flat face on it, and when you pop it through the water, when it's ripping through the water, it creates a bubble trail, a smoke trail behind it, basically disturbing the water and causing more activity, so you're more apt to get a bite because it's just basically calling fish saying, hey, look at me. I'm wild, I'm crazy.
It's an attention getter. It's an attention getter, Moonstruck. And you know it is Wally Heinsohn. I see him on board there. Wally, one of the anglers, a longtime fixture in this area. They're doing a presentation, you know, around Cabeza de Toro. They're actually building more boat slips. I know he did a presentation for the general public about that, trying to make it more accessible for the common man to go out there and catch these white marlin.
Oh, that's wonderful because they could use any kind of infrastructure possible to be able to make this industry grow down there. I mean, it's already growing at leaps and bounds, but he's just kind of adding to the pot.
I'm also seeing some floating debris out there as well, seaweed. You've mentioned things about fads. They're very key for this area.
Yeah, the fads are made by the locals there. They'll have 3,000 feet of line, a 50-gallon drum filled with concrete. You'll have wood spikes going through the sides that they trim off with points on them. They'll drop them down, put a giant styrofoam covered in fishnet with a tarp with palm fronds, and they'll have it down the bottom.
It's a fish attractor, right?
A fad is a fish aggregating device.
Yeah, and I said fish attraction device. I know aggregating, but that's too hard for some people to understand.
No, man. Aggregate? Our followers know exactly what aggregation is. I'm getting aggregated.
I'm talking about the people that haven't seen billfish before. Again, 500 points for Moonstruck with those 4 billfish yesterday. And up the leaderboard, they're doing video verification at the same time.
There's a lot of screaming going on Moonstruck. When you got those doubles, it's really exciting. Everybody still has their lines out. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 guys.
Well, the rotation that we see between these anglers as well. They do something different here. See, one line comes in, one goes back out. The rotation of these anglers catching the fish.
Rob, it's a huge thing to be able to put your baits in right after you get the release. That's what you want to do. There might be a fish. They usually swim together.
Yeah,
they might be a little deeper. Drop that bait down. Sometimes you have a chin-weighted bait, and you get it down there, you might get another fish right away.
All right, there's Sisu and their pattern. Look like they kind of went a little bit more offshore at some time as well, but this is yesterday. Again, just trying to search. And we haven't even talked about the electronics and the things they're dealing with, because with these fads, currently with 6 billfish and 750 points, with these fads, if that's what's holding the fish to general areas, you don't want to get too far from them, do you? Or how far is too far? Or you just...
Well, what happens with the fads is sometimes they hold a lot of bait. You might have 20 fads that you're working and you're weaving in and out of these fads, and then you'll find one with a ton of bait. You can drop down and catch like little baby blackfin tuna, and you know that's going to be a productive fad at some point during the day. But if they're not biting, you're going to wander off, go look around, scope it out, and then maybe come back at a later time, and you might get your bites right there at the fads.
Just trying to hop around, and much like we saw in the Gulf, and again, these boats having to back into these fish, reeling them in as quickly as they can because they need to put another line out there and prepare to catch. Again, a legal catch is also different. Here, they run the leader all the way up into the islet, into the rod tip.
That's right. The wind-on leader has to come through the tip guide, and that constitutes a catch. And of course, then the mate will grab and take a wrap on the leader, and you'll either cut them off or pop them off.
Now there's the outriggers. We'll talk more about that as well. The Doña Lucy from yesterday. Today, I do not see a fish catch. So yesterday's back and forth. So some of these are crossing even parallel with the shoreline. If I'm correct, if Doña Lucy's the blue team, it's like my 5-year-old, back when he was in kindergarten, it looks like he's scribbling across the page because it is mass chaos out there as far as the boating.
Robbie, what you want to do is you're going to follow who. Let's say the guy next to you catches one, you see him doing a down sea tack and going back into a head sea. And he's catching. You're going to want to kind of follow his lead if you're not catching. You do a little copycatting. We definitely inspect everyone else's setups, and when you go by and they're hooked up and they have a pink squid chain hanging out of their rigger while they're hooked up, I may switch to a pink squid chain leader as opposed to a blue one. And now they're backing down, and
there's your over/under you wanted to talk about earlier.
It's perfect. These guys have been doing it forever, their entire lives. I know we always talk about that. And these guys are getting this super bath. You're going to stay wet all day when you're in the Dominican Republic on a hot bite. Take your cell phone out of your pocket.
Yeah, you're doing something right if it is like that. Again, the 2 sailfish intermixed for the Doña Lucy. 2 sailfish is more points than 1 white marlin. So if you can get in there and get a mess of sailfish, doubles, triples are possible. Okay, this was all yesterday from the Doña Lucy. One of our top teams currently sits second right now as it stands.
I think I recognize that guy in the back of the cockpit fighting that fish. He's a billfish gear guy. See that logo on the back of his
we got
shoulders there.
Rafael Caicedo, we got Joselo Hernandez, Ricardo Quiñones, and Arturo Quintana.
For those of you who didn't know, Robbie speaks Spanish.
No, a little bit.
Well done, Robbie. He's bilingual.
Makes a difference when you have Hispanic roommates in college. Now, the boats are different. We talked about the size a little bit smaller. The gear is smaller as well. But the official side of things of what constitutes a legal catch is different as well.
That's exactly it. You're going to want to get that wind-in leader to the tip of your rod. A lot of times, you'll run to the corner of the cockpit, and when you got one more pump, you'll actually stretch out and try to get that in the tip, and then you'll back up, and you'll guide right there. It's coming in. You have the red coming in. A lot of guys will use red, green, something that's easy to see. That's a sailfish right there. And then the mate can grab the leader, bring it into the boat. We know we have a catch at that point, and then we're going to cut them off.
And again, the different color makes it easier to identify, not only for the officials, yourself as well. Because again, it could be the biggest fish in the world, the smallest fish in the world. They all count the same in the Sport Fishing Championship, but you have to get that line into the leader, or that leader into the rod tip.
You always want to take those extra pumps and then reach out and extend and get that line right through the tip of the rod.
So we're seeing the different varieties, and again, the colors, the mechanics, the way things are done, but the objective is still the same. Welcome inside our SFC studios. The objective is to get that fish now as quickly as possible, cleanly as possible, get the line back out there as fast as you can and try and catch another one. And we saw that, 50 billfish caught yesterday. It was tremendous. It
was a tremendous day, Robbie, and that's exactly what you want to do. You want to get those fish to the boat as quickly as possible, and as soon as you cut that fish off, the baits are going back out because you know there's going to be another fish under that fish that you actually have on the leader. They swim in packs, they like to hang out together, and they like to eat together.
We can guess about everything on site, but it's our time to go on site with Site 1, Crystal Hall, Shesla Cristal. We got 2, Crystal and Cristal. Welcome, ladies. Good to see you, Shesla, for the first time, and it looks a little bit breezier, but again, I'm going to give it a hard time. It looks so much better there than it does in our SFC studios.
Yes, I was just going to rub that in. Look at our view.
It's amazing. It's warm weather. It's great. I'm excited to see what the guys are going to catch. So let's see what happens.
What were these anglers dealing with yesterday and as well as today? Is there much different as far as the conditions are concerned that you've noticed?
Well, I will say yesterday morning we had, a fish to the boat within 25 minutes of them heading out, and it's been a little slow this morning. I think we had 1 white marlin
and a blue marlin today. So that's good. A good start.
Yeah, so it's a little more slow today than it was yesterday, but I'm excited that they're getting a blue.
Nice. How's the breeze today? Is it a little stronger breeze today, or the same as yesterday? What's it like?
It feels a little windy.
It's definitely, I'm glad there's a breeze when you're on the beach, but I don't know how the guys feel out there.
Maybe it's a little bit sporty over there.
Yeah, it's always a little breezy in the DR, but the fishing, it's well worth the beat down. At the end of the day, you're wet, you're tired, you're coming in, but you're always flying flags on the outrigger on your way in. So that's always like, you know, it's worth it.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. We want to see those flags flying when the boys come in and teams head to the docks.
Yes.
Okay, again, there are 31 boats. We're expecting you to talk to at least 30 of them when we come back this afternoon as well and get an update. Thank you, ladies, for everything, and then try and get the scoop, find out exactly what they're doing, especially with the blue marlin. I want to know what's going on. How are we catching these two blues in this mess of whites? Again, there are some resident fish that live in the area. Sustituta, one of our 31 teams, and you see their movement throughout these waters. And again, geographically, everybody's staying in relatively the same area. Some more zigging back and forth, but Sustituta more sweeping, longer runs.
Yeah, it looks like they're going out to the deeper water, and typically in the deeper water here, you're going to find blue marlin. So maybe they're going for the big gamble and going out there and trying to get after it.
Imitation squid. Is that what I'm seeing there? Are those birds as well? I mean, we got a blend of stuff.
It's squid, and those right there are called mud flaps. They're kind of reminiscent of a tuna. Any kind of, you know, you see the little yellow painted fins on the end that it looks like somebody colored them in. And these work really well, and they move so elegantly. You know, they just kind of dance as you're towing them along.
Often, you talk about the distance that these big teasing baits are from the boat. How do they compare to, say, where the bait is living?
Okay, listen, the dredge is down about 8 feet, and you've got it down there in the waves about 3 waves back, or 2 waves back, and the fish come right into it, and then they'll switch out, and that's when you can bait them up.
Again, this is Sustituta yesterday. Let's go on board and see what they dealt with.
It's a little down and dirty right there. That's what they call that. Not much you can do, but you see this technique there? As the wave rocks back down with it, because you don't want to be jacking the fish.
Either. We missed one. I missed one.
He's calling himself out.
He sure did. He said, we missed one, I missed one. Okay, well, that's a good teammate.
Yeah, you got one on.
All right.
Doble línea.
Doble línea.
Double line. Doble línea, double line, which is the penalty.
Now there's multiples out there. It looked like, did they spot something also just out, or they still have some baits out? And that was
I think they might have had the dredges, the teasers kind of dragging behind them while they were getting that fish.
Now, you still leave those dredges out while you're trying to get this official catch? I mean, because what? You're trying to dredge up other fish at the same time?
A lot of times when you get the fish close to the boat and you know he's right there and he's kind of like, you know, a little tired out, you know, you can put some stuff back out.
Sea Wish, another one of our camera boats from yesterday. Sea Wish. Our cameraman Umberto on board as well. You see their run. And they did a little more loopy set, only 3 miles off of the coast. That shows you how quick. You want to come to the DR, you want to have fun on land, then have fun out there on the water, you do not have to make a long run. This is yesterday with Sea Wish. Both of their
got
catches.
another fish, so he's got one on. They're getting another bite right there. That's an exciting moment. He's got one on, and he was pitching to a fish right there in the left corner. He's skipping the bait on the surface, keeping the rod tip up.
Now, as far as a taker, you say you don't want that bait generally on the top. You want it down a little bit further, right?
Yeah, typically a marlin wants to eat underwater. They don't want to have to come over top of it and eat it. They want it coming down the face of a wave, or they want it swimming.
You can also see other boats in the background there.
So again, a little down and dirty there. There's the leader coming to the tip. There, they got the white in the tip. There's his white. That's their choice.
And again, a monofilament main line, a fluorocarbon leader on there for the abrasion resistance, and that would be a legal catch. Nice. What a day for them yesterday. Sea-Wish catching 2 billfish today. They need to pick it up a notch, but 2 marlin yesterday.
Okay, so we were putting our lines out, and suddenly we had a double header right away. 2 long baits, one on the right and the left. Had a double header on, and then we missed the right one, and then we caught the left one. Put our bait back in the water, and then we had one teaser bite, the right teaser, squid chain, came up to there, and we fished it out, and we got that one too. So we are 3 for 2 right now.
Great example of the teamwork and having one off, getting one off, leaving one, and constantly going through that rotation of fish on, trying to get another one.
It's all about the ratio, Robbie. So you see he's 3 for 4 or 2 for 3, whatever it is. If you could stay at 100% ratio, boy, I tell you what.
Wire 360 just jumped up. Another catch today. 10:30 for Wire 360 moves them. That is a white marlin release, so they're only 50 behind Sisu. So things are happening this morning. A little bit at a slower pace than yesterday, but when we've already got, 8 marlin this morning, things are still hot in the Sport Fishing Championship.
The Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation is honored to be the official charity of the Sports Fishing Championship. Through this partnership and the support of donors like you, future generations will enjoy and benefit from a naturally balanced ocean ecosystem. Our education programs, both in the classroom and online, bring to life the work needed to make sure we have clean oceans for decades to come. Join us today at www.ghof.org.
When you're serious, you are as excited to wake up for a 4 a.m. fishing trip as you were when you were a kid. It means winning 3 World Sailfish Championships. It means you know what you need and what you don't. Being serious means seeking out the ultimate fishing machine, which is what Peter Miller has found in the unmatched handling, speed, and comfort of an Invincible.
It's the simple things, like spending a day at the beach, splashing in the water, playing in the sand, and creating sandcastle masterpieces. Rediscover fun and family on the beautiful white sand beaches of Gulf Shores and Orange Beach.
SFC coverage of the CNSD White Marlin Tournament is brought to you by Invincible Boats, Centered Wellness, and by the Louisiana Office of Tourism.
They're starting to catch them this morning. The Club Nautico Santo Domingo White Marlin Tournament from the Dominican Republic. The beautiful land, the touristy area on the ground, but out there in the waters, Ayo, just a moment ago, released another white marlin. So almost back-to-back within the past 7 minutes, and we've seen that on the Sport Fishing Championship. You see it in your duties and getting your 3 billfish or sailfish world championships. They come in flurries like that oftentimes.
So when you say Ayo, what you got to say-o, and they got a white marlin. You see, you know that song?
I heard you. I saw where you're coming from. You're seeing the patterns in the areas, the 2 different key areas that they are here that they're dealing with. Doña Lucy going on board with them, but all staying around the same general area with all within about a 10-mile stretch.
Robbie, I want to talk about what he just did there.
What did he
Snapped
do?
it out, he had a bite, he put the rod tip low, locked it up, and now we got a white marlin on.
And look at the boat, how close. Look at 2 boats, or is that a fad? No, there are 2 boats all within eye shot.
Listen, and this is all, everything's good in love and war. You can kind of fish together like like that and it's understood, just get out of my way when I hook up. But this area is hot, the fish are congregating, you're gonna fish tight, and everybody's cool with it.
And this is, I believe, Doña Lucy yesterday, and there's a lot of back patting and saying, good job, you know, hey, good luck to the other teams. Different than we saw in the Gulf where they were like, dude, I'm ready to kick his tail day in, day out. They'll go back and have a cerveza with each other after this is all over.
Or 1 or 10 cervezas. What I like about this fight here, this fish jumping around the boat, he turns the reel sideways and he gets down on top of it and cranks it. You have the ability to crank super fast when you put the reel sideways and come and wind from the top down, and you just get a quick whisking rotation and you can wind super fast. He's already got the release. The fish took off. He let go of the leader for a second. Fish is going wild back there. That's what's so beautiful about these white marlin. They're always greyhounding and jumping. They're very acrobatic.
And also tell me the device again, the cutter, the line cutter?
Oh, it's a mate saver.
Mate saver, he's gonna, well, there sometimes they can just pop them off, but I mean the mate saver, go down there, nice clean cut, they'll retie, that's what we got mates for. There's already probably 2 lines in the water, maybe even the 3rd already at this time.
Oh yeah, here they go, they're popping them in right now. And that mate saver is huge. We talk about the Guy Harvey Foundation. This is all about conservation.
Haven't seen mi gorda today. The big one, haven't seen much of them today, but yesterday I believe they did have a fish game.
Was it gorda or gordo?
Not gorda, but me is gordito. That's my nickname.
So you're a little,
little chubby.
Okay. Well, I'm a gordo. I'm a lot chubby.
And also the harness that the anglers have. Some we've seen some with, some without.
That's the little fighting belt. That's when you get to know your fellow angler. When you reach around like that and you put that thing around him, you bend it out with a fiberglass and pop it around his waist. That's when your kind of face is smashed up against his sweaty back and you're thinking to yourself, we're gonna win. If we're
trying to muscle these guys in a short amount of time too, you want to lay the wood to them within reason as well. So I don't mind seeing him do that.
It's rare that I would use a fighting belt in this kind of situation. I'd usually have it so I could be very mobile and I wouldn't be using a fighting belt. I would use my man pad. I have so much padding in my hip area from fighting so many billfish that I put it there and it's kind of like a fighting belt. I call it the man pad.
Learning so much about you, Peter. And again, you don't often see that from all of the teammates. And another one done, verification, and our cameraman gets their cameraman. Look at our cameraman. Let's go back to
Sisu. That's
called
picture in picture.
Yeah, the PIPP.
Wow.
The calm, smooth waters. Again, when they're on the boat, you see a little bit more rocking, but this is a perfect day for fishing.
That's absolutely gorgeous, and that is a super calm day for the DR right there. That is breathtaking, to say the least.
And the lower it gets, you can see the boat rolling. And those are big vessels, multi-million-dollar vessels, but there's also boats that are out there with center consoles, more agility. You don't have to have a big boat to catch these fish. You might be in the little quicker, speedier boats that kind of get you here and there because you don't have to worry about the long
Robbie,
runs.
I've seen 15-foot pangas out there 20 miles offshore catching 300-pound marlin on a hand line.
And what were you in?
I was in a 60-foot sport fish going 42 knots. Sorry. 45 miles an hour.
Thank you, sir.
I know you don't like knots. You better not say that again.
Not in my shoes or on the water.
We got cell phone cameras. Everyone's got headsets. There's so many advances in fishing now with the sonar equipment. It's just
we're on board with
awesome.
Sisu. Another thing we haven't talked about, they're doing video evidence of that catch and release, but also these guys going in, coming out every single day, where in the Gulf Division we saw the anglers staying out on the water. We've talked about the Billfish Championship, but what about the championship divisions like the Mahi-Mahi, the Wahoo, and the Yellowfin Tuna by Invincible Boats? They're out there.
I'll tell you what, I've caught some massive Mahi-Mahi, and they're worth at the end of the year, the biggest one at the end of the Sport Fishing Championship, $50,000 for the biggest fish in each species. You got the Mahi, the Yellowfin Tuna, by Invincible Boats, and then we also have the Wahoo, which I heard they caught a big one yesterday.
Yeah, it was a massive Yellowfin Tuna, the Rising Sun's Daniel Landry, 139 pounds for that bad boy. That's leading our Yellowfin Tuna by Invincible Boats. Yesterday, we had a Wahoo catch, and there's also big Mahi-Mahi in here. I've seen pictures of your Mahi catches in there. There's some toads. We might not see the tuna, but we did see a big wahoo yesterday. Maricel Echevarria. She is the only female competitor in our field, and she catches the biggest wahoo we've seen on tour.
That's close to 74 pounds, and if you see the size boat she's on?
A center console. A center console. It doesn't take a big boat to catch a big fish, and that is evidence. Again, if that's the biggest wahoo at the end of the year, that is a $50,000 fish for doing what you're supposed to be doing the entire time.
Robbie, it's not the size of the boat, it's the motion in the ocean.
That's my one Sea Wish. Let's take a look at Sea Wish and what they had to deal with. And again, that big wahoo could play a big factor, and they thought it was a marlin they had on board. All right, so now we're seeing direction. We're seeing the inter-ear communication. They're wanting him to back up to that fish. Or are they just pumped up that they caught one?
No, he's telling them, go, come back, let's go. Nice thing is they're kind of going down sea with it, so they're not taking the super whitewash. But the fish is greyhounding. They take massive acrobatic leaps. They're like kind of Michael Jordan-ish.
See the thumbs up. Again, mostly Spanish-speaking crew.
Yep. You need to know a couple things when you're fishing in the DR. That's izquierda and derecha.
Right.
Exactly. When you hear izquierda, you better know where to go, because that's where the fish is going to be. You hear derecha, go to the other side.
You're on the wrong one. Apúrate, hurry up. There's another one that we might hear.
Listos. Vale.
And there's the release. And you saw them using the yellow leader there. Very identifiable, Moonstruck without a catch today. Here's their catch from yesterday. 1, 2, 3 lines in the water and reeling in quick on the right.
Sounds to me like they might be getting another bite while they have that one hooked up.
No, that is a peppy individual, a peppy white out there. Four white marlin yesterday, 500 points. They're not on the board yet today.
That's what you're going to love about the white marlin. They're always getting to the air. You know, sailfish have more of a wiggle. You know, these guys are more, powerful, and they throw a little tail into it, if you will.
Well, it's almost, correct me if I'm wrong, these look more like sprinters. They're quick, they're agile, they're fast. The blue marlin look more like shot putters, discus guys. They're big, beefy. They've got all the power in the world, but they're just a different world of action.
That's a nice analogy, Robbie. I kind of like that.
Trying to, it's not an Olympic here, but I'm trying to make it one.
We got shot putting up. We've got curling next. Curling guys coming up on the Ocho.
It actually was an Olympic year. I forgot about it.
Yeah. There's a lot of look at all that carbon coming out of the engines. That's backing down hard right there.
And I'm seeing the drifting vegetation and things like that. Then another thing that the bait fish could lock onto as well. That could be a fish attracting.
Another fad, if you will.
But a natural occurring one.
Exactly. And in the DR, they have a tendency to have quite a bit of sargassum weed there, which holds a lot of microscopic organisms, thus more small baits, then the big baits, then the fish, then the marlin, and that's what we want. These guys are high-fiving all around. Guys, get the bait back in the water. Come on, let's go. Let's see how long it takes. 1, 2,
Well, Ali, let's not waste any time. Let's get it back out there. See, you, the tournament angler, are going like, see, I told you it's more about having a good time for these guys.
We're tight with 4 fish with 2 other boats. We're still in 3rd place, but we're getting there. We haven't missed a fish today, which is good.
Not missing a thing is quality. You like that, just like a batting average in baseball. As we look at our current leaderboard, it's tied up at the top there. Sisu, Wide 360, Doña Lucy, Liqueo. We have several cameras on board with these boats, but you see just how fast it can jump up at the last second.
You're right. There's a lot of fish being caught. I think we're up to like 55 marlin releases at this point.
Well, it's not just about catching these fish. It's also returning them back out to the seas, and that's what the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation is about. But it's not just conservation in the water. It's also on land as well that helps the water. Let's take a look.
Hey everybody, I'm Pachi Pastor, CEO and President of the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation. Dr. Harvey inspires us every day, and we're privileged to be part of this great team with Sport Fishing Championship and part of the season that's just kicking off in beautiful Louisiana. The anglers are out there in the world-famous canyons, and part of the story is about the importance of fisheries and sport fishing and how that drives a sustainable engine for a community in terms of ecotourism and also this conservation message that gets wrapped into that. So at each of the stops that we have with this great championship season, we work with each community, the schools, the local teachers, and the community talk about conservation, education, and most importantly, stewardship of this incredible resource we call fisheries. And as you go through this particular journey with us, we're going to be working with the kids, and these particular kids are talking about water quality, marine plastics, these critically challenged ecosystems. When we look at living shorelines like mussels, bivalves, oysters here in Louisiana, and the coral reefs where I live in the Keys, it's all about corals. But wherever we go, it's really firing these kids up and showing them cool things that they can do to not only become a marine biologist, but to get involved in this whole blue economy. And what better place than these wonderful locations that we go to where people really are passionate about fisheries, fishing, and that sport fishing story is something that these great guys at Sport Fishing Championship are going to cover, and we're thrilled to be a party adventure. As Dr. Harvey always says, fair weather and tight lines. We'll see you there.
A day out on the water could go great, or it could have a few minor setbacks. Things could get rough, or you could lose that $900 smartphone. Whatever the problem, Yugo provides unmatched premium protection for any water sports adventure. Yugo. To get yours, visit YugoWear.com or simply scan the QR code on the screen. And remember, just add water.
Yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about! Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
So, you want this, but you can't have it without this, or this, or this. Until now, introducing a new way to travel, intranationally. Get all that international charm without ever leaving the country. Right here in St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Get all that culture, all the cuisine from that culture. You're welcome. All the gram-worthy sites from that hashtag culture. Right here at home. St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Travel intranationally.
SFC coverage of the CNSD White Marlin Tournament is brought to you by Garmin, the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation, and by St. Augustine and St. Johns County, Florida's historic coast.
It's the Sport Fishing Championship, another iconic, ideal destination for the sport of bill fishing. Cabeza de Toro and Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, are two launch sites, and you can do pretty much anything you want to out here. Peter, I don't know about kite surfing, but I know you've boarded here.
I've taken a little break from fishing. You know, you catch a few blue marlins, some white marlins, some mahi. And one day we went out to the wakeboard park, and I took my first jump on a wakeboard jump, and I actually landed it, which was surprising. No trick. I just kind of prayed that I'd land and not eat it.
Straight air, they call it. You did a trick. It's just called a straight air. And again, a wonderful time here at Punta Cana. Let's take a look at our look ahead with Smith Optics. Again, visual clarity is imperative as we head towards St. Augustine, Florida, the birthplace of America, the first city. Ronnie Moore was with us yesterday. I'd like to thank Ronnie for joining us. This was, I think, his hometown at one point. Have you ever personally fished out of St. Augustine?
I have not.
So we need to get you and I, up to St. Augustine, because not only to learn about the history and see the sights and everything about that, let's go out there on the water. Let's try and catch some before then.
Why not?
We got to hurry.
Those cannons. You got to shoot your shot.
We got to hurry. You got to drive up from Miami. But again, the NEFMA Blue Water Tournament next week. You can watch it on SportFishingChampionship.com on both Thursday and Friday, and then Saturday on CBS Sports Network. Each one of these stops, you'll be able to watch 3 days of competition, the same type of format, culminating on that Saturday live show on CBS Sports Network, and we're glad to bring it to you. We're at the second stop of 11 in the Dominican Republic. And you see La Perla, a new team for us. See their pattern, and it is a mess. That is not a box of crayons that is spilled on the floor as you're driving the shopping cart in the grocery. La Perla, they've been moving around as well as all of our teams. And there's one of those fads, and the teams that are out there on the water all congregating around the same areas.
Yeah, I liked his look here. He was leaning into it. He was leaning forward. He's very aerodynamic. He's driving the boat, and that's that bait cooler. You want to have tons of bait prepared and ready to go. They want to be brined, salted. You want to push the meat up in the back, make them very pliable, and you want to make sure they're tough, and that's what the salt does. And you want to store them back down.
Now, some of these baits you're talking about, you actually have baits out there that were once live, not too long before, pliable as you say or whatever, but they're real baits. Sometimes we're seeing artificial ones, but you want these billfish to catch the real bait without a hook first, because then they get that taste. They get that little taste they're looking for.
We want to tease them up, and that's why we put a bait at the end of these squid chains without any hook in them. They get one bite out of it. They get a little juice coming out of it. Then they get fired up. Now they want to eat, and this guy can pitch bait them.
And this was yesterday on La Perla. This morning having some mechanical difficulties, something you don't want to see from any team. But out here running, you're looking at some lower lines and the attachment you were talking about, some of those rings that are low. Keep that bait a little lower in there, or why? And it pops off at a certain time, and then goes to the.
Some people, well, what we saw there, some people don't have the big reels to bring in the dredges, so that was on a rope off a cleat, and then they're going to pull it in by hand. Not an easy task when the fish comes up.
No, I'd be more about the electronics. This is Team Sisu, one of our front runners yesterday throughout the day. Follow online on sportfishingchampionship.com. We'll give you all the updates you can have. 6 different billfish.
You see how he's pumping, Robbie? Pump and wind, even when you're backing, because you want to keep that line up on the surface. If you only wind, you'll have a belly in the line, and you don't want that when you get close to the fish. So you pump and wind, even though you're gaining all that line for free. You have to pump.
Reel on the down. Pull up, reel on the down, right?
That's right. They look so placid when they jump. They look so calm and collected. They do these little greyhounds. They greyhound away, and it's just really special to be able to be a part of this and be able to see this. But you see how he's got it under his arm. We're not using a fighting belt here.
Right.
This is light tackle fishing.
I remember going out for the first time saltwater fishing and getting that bruised pelvis from that rod tip, just digging into my body. I do everything wrong, Peter. That's why we have you up here.
That's right. You will develop a man pad if you hang out with me on your lower hip. It's kind of like a calloused area. Not actually calloused, but you can handle it. It goes away the next day.
High fives all around. That is a legal catch.
Already putting the baits back out. You see him dropping back there? That's a nice platform they're on, Robbie.
Doña Lucy back on board with them. And another thing, you see that whitewash or the pump wash, whatever, the prop wash, you don't keep the baits in that area because the fish don't see it as well. It's out there in the clearer zones.
That's why we use the outriggers. We get the long baits way back there in the clean water, and then we get the shorts next to the teasers in the cleanest water we can get to. Now, and some boats have really clean water.
There's the marker identifying that particular catch. He's showing it.
That's right. Now we're just waiting for that wind on coming in the tip. And there it was. And now the mate's got it. So that's a release.
Again, white marlin and sailfish for the Doña Lucy, a mixed bag. We haven't seen any white marlin, or we haven't seen any sailfish today. We have seen a mixed bag as far as white marlin and blue marlin caught today.
That's right. And they're using quick retrieve. The retrieve on that reel that he's using right there is almost 7-to-1.
So a different ratio, lesser turns for more intake.
Exactly. You'll get 7 turns for 1 crank. Now when you're big marlin fishing, now when you got a big blue on, you want a much slower gear. But listen, if they bite, oh, there they are. They got the leader right there. It's in the tip. It's a catch. Usually they come off pretty easily. You see that because we're using small circle hooks. A lot of times they'll pop right out.
And again, that circle hook also about the conservation side of things as well. Thumbs up. The circle hook's different than a J hook. A lot of people might have fished their lifetime in J hooks. That's meant to stay in there. That circle hook, the fish catches himself.
Well, the nice thing about the circle hook, which is mandatory in all the billfish tournaments pretty much throughout the entire world right now, the idea is it comes through. Let's say they swallow the bait, it will come out, come all the way through their throat, and as it's about to come out of their mouth, it gets in the corner of their mouth. Whereas a J hook, it'll go in there and shred their innards. It'll shred their stomach, it'll shred their throat. They come up bleeding. Circle hooks are the best thing that ever happened to bill fishing. Conservation at its finest.
Look at the excitement on the boat. The mates out there jumping up and down. They got one. This is Sisu, again, one of our front runners in the overall totals. They are leading right now with 750 points ahead of Y360. That's why he's jumping up and down. Big money's on the line.
You got to jump around when you're winning by 50 points.
But again, we don't even have a billfish that's worth 50 points. 75 is our minimum. So somebody's just a sailfish away at 75. No spearfish or swordfish at this tournament. We won't see those. It'd be a miracle if we did maybe a swordfish.
That's the kind of thing, Robbie, that maybe you come in at night when you're not fishing a tournament and you say, I might want to catch a big slam. Fantasy slam and catch that sword at night after a fun day of fishing.
So Sisu in the lead, but by that one blue marlin, Y360 just 50 points behind, and that asterisk means they were the first recipient of a blue marlin. They are the first catch of the blue marlin. That gives you an extra 100 points. So 450 for that single fish alone. So either get into more blue marlin like Y360 or Doña Lucy have, you can really make a jump. And that, as we look at the points, that's one thing you said you would go for blue marlin, because I know you've caught blue marlin here. They're not necessarily the biggest. They're not the size that we've seen in the Gulf. But if you can catch some of those smaller ones in 30 minutes, you're going to make up ground quick.
Last time I fished here, the blue marlin that I caught were 80 to 125, and I caught 3.
Similar sizes, but again, more points. Team Sisu in the lead with 6 white marlin earlier today. This is not yesterday, this is today's footage of Team Sisu.
So they're staying tight on the fish. The fish is coming out, and the captain's still in gear.
That was about 9:30 this morning.
And as soon as the fish kind of settles in a little bit, they're going to stop. They're going to start going backwards, closing that gap. But right now, the fish getting a little wild. You got to get them under control before you make that move.
This is the fish that actually put them on top. It was Y360 and Doña Lucy who'd been there, but this one fish is what's keeping them on top right now.
And that fish is staying on top. He's kind of going away, usually tailing away at this point, and they're just kind of backing towards him.
We saw some of those blues making deeper runs. The whitefish stay more topside comparatively?
The white marlin, both will stay on the surface, but every now and then you get a fish that gets a little angry, a little down and dirty, and they'll dive down. They see those props, they see that white water, they start feeling that pressure. The mate grabs the leader. When they feel that extra pressure, a lot of times they'll sound, they'll take off, yeah. So he got tail wrap there. They're gonna get that off his tail.
Popped it off, released it. It can be caught again.
That's right.
Team Grace started the day off hot. They had our first 2 catches earlier today. They had 1 yesterday, but this is how you want to start. We know they caught 1 yesterday. You said, hey, it just didn't fall our way. There's always tomorrow. Today is yesterday's tomorrow. And they started off with our first 2 fish of the day.
Wait, today is yesterday's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Today is yesterday's tomorrow, guys. So
you think about that one for a while. It'll take you the rest of the show to really
I'll be back in Miami by the time I figure that one out. But we got Team Grace in 3rd place, and they got a blue today, which is really nice. You know you're going to be backing hard on a blue marlin. You want to get that leader as fast as you can before the fish jumps off, and that looks like the blue. Coming out the boat as usual. There he is.
Yeah, they caught a white first, and then less than an hour later, a blue marlin release.
Get that dredge out of the way, guys. Oh yeah, there you go.
That was trouble waiting to happen, wasn't it?
Yeah, sure was. Makes you nervous. That's a pucker factor. I still have him on. He's steaming in reverse right now.
And the thing is, with blue marlin, they are a bigger, heftier, hardier fish. you still have to reel that leader up to the rod tip, and you only have 30 minutes to do it. There they are releasing that fish. 30 minutes. What's your average time on catching a good-sized marlin? How long does it generally take you with light line?
You know, Robbie, sometimes when you have this light line, you're actually way faster than you would be on 50 to 80 pound tests, because the fish is going to stay up on the surface because they don't feel that pressure. They're not stressed.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. There are 8 boats that we have cameras on today. We will also reshuffle for tomorrow and get you some of those front runners and try and get you all the scoop as fast as we can. They're all staying within inside that 10-mile coastal perimeter, generally the same area with 30 boats.
You're not kidding. They're right on top of each other, and it's understood. You know, it's all fair game, and people just stay out of each other's way, especially when you hook up. They'll fade out to the right, fade out to the left, and get out of the way. But we have Team Sisu with 750 points, winning today's daily by 50 points overall.
Seriously though, Liquid down in 12th. Two fish could put them on top, and a quick hit, it could happen. Hadn't had anybody catch one for inside the past hour. Team Ayo with a white marlin and wide 360. Again, that fish put wide 360 into second, and they're only 50 points back. We're going to give them all the updates when we come back, I believe, at 6 p.m. Eastern on SportFishingChampionship.com. All right, any predictions?
Well,
how many more blues?
I think there's going to be at least 2 to 3 more blues for the day. But
how many sales?
Sales, I'd say about 3-4 sales, and probably about 20, 30 more white marlin.
20 or 30 whites. Again, we'll be back here today at 6 p.m. Eastern on SportFishingChampionship.com, and Saturday, CBS Sports Network at 9 in the morning. We'll see you then.
A day out on the water could go great. Or it could have a few minor setbacks. Things could get rough. Or you could lose that $900 smartphone. Whatever the problem, Yugo provides unmatched premium protection for any water sports adventure. Yugo. To get yours, visit YugoWear.com or simply scan the QR code on the screen. And remember, just add water.
Yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about! Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
So, if you want this, but you can't have it without this, or this, or this. Until now, introducing a new way to travel intranationally. Get all that international charm without ever leaving the country. Right here in St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Get all that culture, all the cuisine from that culture. You're welcome. All the gram-worthy sites from that hashtag culture. It's right here at home. St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Travel intranationally.